Good morning, SASM. Today I'm just going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story about one of the ways that Jesus appeared to his disciples after he'd risen from the dead. And it's a rather strange story because at first you don't know it's about Jesus at all. What John's Gospel, because it's in John's Gospel, what it tells us is that Peter and a few others, and he mentions the sons of Zebedee and Thomas, had gone to the Sea of Galilee to go fishing. Now, on the one hand, this is a kind of surprise because they've just, seen Jesus risen from the dead in Jerusalem. Why would you go back to the Sea of Galilee, which is really a big lake in the north of Israel? Why would you go there? Until you realise that actually that was like their job. They were fishermen. That was what most of them did. And I think if you're stuck and you don't know what to do, you go back to doing something that you're kind of used to doing. So they'd known that Jesus had risen from the dead, but he hadn't appeared again. And they went back to what they were doing. And they go out one night. Peter says, let's go fishing. But here's the funny thing, they don't catch any fish. So they're doing what they used to do, and they used to be good at it. This was their job, but they don't catch any fish. And then they're just not at the shore, but they're near the shore, and someone calls out from the shore. It says like a stranger to them calls out and says, you haven't caught any fish, have you? No, we haven't. And this stranger says, well, why don't you try the other side of the water? And something about the stranger, there's something about him that they do it. And when they do it, they cast the net out the other side of the water, and a weird thing happens. There are loads of fish. Even stranger in John's Gospel, it tells us when they counted them all, when they'd hauled them all in, they counted them, there were 153 fish. And then Peter twigs, and you may have twigged already, who is this stranger? And Peter says, it is the Lord, he says. And then he does something even stranger. He leaps out of the boat and swims to shore. But the really weird bit is the Bible, it tells us he puts on his clothes and jumps into the water and swims to shore. And I'd always thought that was a weird detail, and it just didn't make sense to me until I met someone who lived in Palestine, and he explained that in those days, in old Palestine, that they wouldn't have many clothes. You wouldn't have like loads of different pairs of trousers and shirts and stuff. You just have one set of clothes. And when he leaps into the water, what's happening is Peter he doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want to leave any trace of his life behind when he's being a fisherman. He wants to take all his life with him because his life is going to change. And it's true. His life does change. Straight away what happens is just Jesus, because we now know it's Jesus, says, come and have breakfast. And they eat some barbecued fish and bread on the shore, and they know that it's Jesus. But after that, what will change is that Peter's life has changed. Before, he used to be a fisherman who did a bit of kind of following Jesus on the side. But now he won't be a fisherman anymore. He will just talk about Jesus, and he goes back down to Jerusalem, and he becomes like the leader of the first church. So this story, on the one hand, it's just about Jesus appearing after he died and what it was like. It's also about someone's life being turned around. When even after they just caught fish, they just realise, well, there's something so strange, so amazing about what's happening to me. I can't just go back to being a fisherman. I need to do something else with my life.